We are the TweetCap. Matt, how you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm very excited for our guest to come in as well. Why don't you let the
Yes,
people know who's
yes,
here?
I will. So with us today, I've got a very good friend of mine. We went to Nazareth College together. He's since gone on to do some great many things up in the city of Buffalo. So please welcome to the TweetCap, Rocky Palomini. Rocky, how you doing?
Good and you?
Oh, not so bad. So like I said, Rocky and I, we've been friends for quite some time. Not quite as long as Matt and I, but that's all right. And he is a big fan of the Tweetcap. So
Much
we wanted to
appreciated,
know if we could
Rocky.
let him on, and we appreciate all of our fans, and we said let's do it. So let's do it, Matt. I know you've got our first story all keyed up.
All right. So, first thing I want to talk about something though taboo. It is something that really that involves a third of all internet traffic, and it is the subject and genuine fact. And it's regarding pornography. And what specifically regarding pornography is the story? Well, last week, there was a major investigation led by the New York Times investigating child and sex abuse regarding this porn site, the pornographic site Pornhub. The lawsuit, a lawsuit was filed amongst this. Pornhub, the famous website, its
Yep.
parent company, which is MindGeek, which also owns YouPorn, Pornhub, and Brazzers, is being sued for $80 million by 40 different women who say that the site profited from sex trafficking. The lawsuit alleges that MindGeek was aware of the specific porn site Girls Tube Porn for sex trafficking women and girls, and they still continue to host their videos despite this. As a result of this, there was over, I believe, 13 million pornographic videos that were not verified, whether for various reasons. But obviously, this was some move Pornhub did. And again, though taboo, as I said, Pornhub, the facts show that about a third of internet traffic is as a result of people looking up pornography. And then Pornhub took most of its own content away and are now amongst probably, if the allegations are true, will probably destroy the site. But it can also lead to a conversation regarding regulating pornography on the internet, which obviously over the past 2 decades has grown mightily. So first, I'll toss this over to Rocky, who is involved in studying law and stuff like this. Ryan, I'm sorry, Rocky, what do you think of this story that's going on right now?
Well, I first heard about this in a tweet, and it showed the picture before. Like, if you go into the search bar, it says like how many million videos, and
Yeah.
then after the purge, it had like a lower number, and it was the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I heard a million voices cry out, and then all these silence. So that is literally where I heard it from. But I mean, smart on their part, I guess. You don't
so
want that stuff up.
So I'm going to ask you a question, actually, Rocky. 'Cause we have talked about something similar obviously off podcast, well before the podcast was even in existence, with people. Basically, are these sites responsible for content they didn't create if they're sharing content from another site? Because this gets into that exact issue. None of the verified accounts or verified videos have been taken down. It's just all of the unverified ones, the ones that originated on maybe a different site that somebody themselves uploaded um, to be shared on their sites. So, we talked about how this could maybe hurt, obviously MindGeek, and it will financially if they lose. But I don't know about, destroying the website you just mentioned. A third of all the people who use the internet are using it to find that website. So
Mhm.
I think they'll be okay. But can they actually be responsible? I think they should be. Anyone who's listened to this knows that I'm always the bad guy who thinks people should be responsible for the stuff that they endorse and the stuff that they say. But can they legally be responsible for something they didn't technically know was happening?
I mean, well, first of all, the site's never going to go down. We were talking
Right.
about
Well,
it's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
Amazon or Walmart. It's massive.
Too big. It's massive.
They still have
In terms of
millions from
Pornhub, that's
other verified ones, so it is
That
crazy.
should be the new slogan.
it should be. Well, it's not as massive anymore. Millions of
I know.
videos are gone, so
But
slightly less massive.
but
You're honest
anyway,
about that.
I took like a cyber law class, in law school, and we talked a lot about child porn laws and revenge porn laws, stuff like that. And it's very strict, and no matter who has it, you're going down. There's cases where people don't even know it's on their computer. There's cases where it's in their unallocated data. There's spaces on your computer you can't reach. Things that have already been deleted, but are still technically on the computer. You can still go down for that. So it's a smart move for the site to try to,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it as much as they can. Yeah.
This was for the greater good, as you could say,
for sure.
see, and there's clearly millions of other ones of all the verified accounts. So again,
Well, yeah.
there's plenty of content to share, as mentioned by you two. But I think it just leads to such a larger conversation. And as you said, for a long time, there's been various talks about more regulation that can happen to the internet. Obviously beyond pornography, and just talk about other things. But I think it's just the fact that how easy it really was for so many people, and it's just really disgusting, honestly, on all these things accused. And a lot of activists really trying to make a difference, and this just leads to just this major conversation with sex trafficking in general, and people who share it and stuff like that. And hopefully this now can create awareness that this is very much a real thing. You could have accidentally seen it if you're just somebody who, well, I don't know, when I say accidentally
Casual browser.
Casual browsing the porn site for whatever reason, and then you see something, there's a crime being committed right there. It's just, I think that's an interesting combo that should lead to as a result of this story.
So I will say the only thing that worries me, and again, this doesn't typically worry me as the pro regulation champion that I am, but the idea that Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell will get to determine how pornography works in America is a little unsettling. I don't want to know what those two are into, but them coming up with the regulations, a little scary. So hopefully we can find some sort of middle ground. But only time will tell. Only time will tell, right, Matt?
Nothing but. So, Ryan, this other thing that's been going on, also to you, Rocky. Time magazine has often been popular and known for sharing the Time People of the Year.
Person of the Year.
And they do a bunch of people, but they then nominate and declare who's the Time Person of the Year, which was also discussed last week. As we said and predicted that out of the 4 nominations between Joe Biden, Donald Trump, healthcare workers, and I believe it was BLM, that it wound up turning into Joe Biden winning.
And Kamala Harris. Yep.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris winning the Time Person of the Year, which has caused quite a controversy, and I think it's fair to say why. During a pandemic where we have sadly lost as many as 300,000 Americans, and that number keeps growing, and as we record today, we sadly have had the worst day in terms of deaths with COVID-19. Yet despite that, we are still having many frontline healthcare workers working day and night through insane shifts. Dr. Fauci also was amongst that crowd who's leading the charge. And despite this, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win, and not discrediting what they did. They obviously made a huge accomplishment this year. But I think it's fair to say for the rest of eternity, 2020 will be defined by the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll say to Ryan first, then to Rocky. Ryan, how do you feel about the results of this? Once and for all, and what do you?
Yeah, they fumbled this one, huh? It doesn't make any sense. Not to discredit the actual winners. I mean, and listen, I did go on Time today actually, and I looked. They have lists, like a list of like the Times top 100. And there's like leaders, icons, artists, all this stuff, different categories, and Fauci's on there, just Fauci. The Black Lives Matters founders, those 3 women, they're on there. But I believe the proposed idea was to be Dr. Fauci and America's frontline healthcare workers. Yep. That was the proposed finalist that eventually lost. And it does, again, before all this happened, I would agree with you. The 2020 presidential election was the biggest story of 2020 because nobody liked the current president. Well, actually, a great deal of people did, but you know what I mean. And that was a big deal. But you can't pretend that coronavirus didn't happen. So many people got sick. It's dictated not just, again, people's actual like status as living or dead, but people's daily lives have been changed in terms of how they work, how they see family, how they celebrate, how they shop, how they consume goods, if they consume goods. So it's just this year's about COVID, for better or for worse. And the people who, regardless of politics or regardless of anything else, were fighting against COVID, and it was a fight, still is, are the frontline healthcare workers, are, scientists, obviously the most prominent being Dr. Fauci. It just doesn't make sense. Joe Biden is president for 4 years. Kamala Harris is vice president for 4 years. She may very well end up president at some point within the next however many years. There'll be plenty of time to talk about the historic careers of those two public servants. Right. But the frontline healthcare workers, they're often overlooked. Doctors are often overlooked. They get paid pretty well, but that's not the point. This would be a moment for everyone to say, yeah, they do a lot to keep us safe. Not in the traditional sense. We back the blue and we have the red stripes on our flags. We don't really have anything for doctors. Actually, all we do is yell at them. So this would have been that moment. It's non-political. It would have been absolutely perfect. And, well, they blew it. So what can you do?
Did they say why? Was it just a vote, or did they give like a reason?
I mean, you'll have to read the article. They write an article up. I don't know who wrote it.
Panel of people decided.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll discuss why they picked Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the actual cover piece, because they have a piece that's written about them. But I remember Donald Trump won it when he got elected, and his entire cover piece was about Hillary Clinton, which was kind of funny. But again, you can write something good, so at least it'll be an interesting read. But knowing that what we know, knowing about who else they would have selected, it almost would have been better if they didn't tell us. If they just said, "Oh, and this year we're picking, Joe and Kamala," because then nobody would have worried about it. Like, oh yeah, president-elect, the vice president-elect, makes sense. But they showed us. They showed us the right answer and then gave us the wrong answer. So there's no way to excuse that. Now that we know that there's a better option, why would we ever be like, oh yeah, this is fine? And ultimately, it is fine. It's just words on paper. Nobody can express how grateful we all are to frontline healthcare workers and to scientists who helped hopefully beat coronavirus as we have the vaccines coming out. Moderna just got approved in the United States as well as Pfizer. But, obviously we have to thank them anyway. But this would have been a very public way to do that. And frankly, not enough companies acted appropriately throughout the pandemic. And we've talked about that a dozen times on the show. And we haven't even had a dozen episodes. So, we've seen a lot of people just screw up, and I'm not wholly surprised that they screwed up here. At least their screw up is not going to kill anybody. So I guess that's the only benefit, because in 2020, the stakes are usually a little bit higher than this. So, glass half full kind of guy. No one died.
Did you see the picture they chose for Biden?
I did not.
It is a very weird looking photo. It's a very weird angle.
He takes a lot of those. I don't know if you've noticed.
It's weird. I've never seen Biden at that angle before.
The Fauci picture's good. The one they ended up using on the top.
I saw that one first, and I legit thought that's what they went with. I thought it was just a clear choice.
Yeah, I thought that was it, but I guess not. They surprised us.
I didn't even know there was a vote at first. I just saw the one picture. Again,
yeah, it's like a panel.
Yeah. And
they did still honor it. So Time is trying to have their cake and eat it too, sort of thing, where Time honors Dr. Fauci and frontline workers, but they didn't. It's a different award, same issue, but a different award altogether. So they didn't really give. They gave something. They did mention, that little thing called.
Wasn't it something like the Guardian? The Guardian of the Year almost.
So I just saw his picture in his write-up. I believe Jimmy Kimmel did the write-up, actually, which is kind of fun, for the top 100 list. And he was on there along with both Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, I think Prime Minister Modi of India was on there. Yeah, Angela Merkel was on there. It's very weird. And this was just the leaders one. They have like artists and
Right.
like Billy Porter had one, but he was under icon. So I don't really know. I don't know the definition of icon. I should probably have looked that up. But Cyndi Lauper wrote it. And I always think that's more fun to see the name of the also usually celebrity who wrote the op-ed
Joe
that they published.
Biden.
I want to say Joe Biden's was probably John Kerry or somebody like that. One of those old guys. But yeah, Elizabeth Warren wrote like one for a healthcare activist, which was actually really nice.
So sweet
So
of her.
if you go on to Twitter, you can find it. The Time posted their list and their link with images, so you should read the whole thing because you do learn a lot about some people that you may not have previously known much about or anything about. And again, it's always funny to see when Jimmy Kimmel, has to write a page and a half about Dr. Fauci.
You really
Yeah,
think
I'm not kidding. Like the late night host Jimmy Kimmel. I checked too. I was like, is it a different Jimmy Kimmel? Nope. It was him. So, but I think we're gonna move on to the next segment. There's not much more we can say, dwelling on our disappointment. But
You're good with that.
as promised, last week, I finally was able to download Cyberpunk. It immediately updated, which was kind of fun. But I wanted to give my review as well as talk about some of the trending topics. I know Rocky has the game, Matt has the internet, so between the three of us, we're definitely well aware about the game and some of its positive and negative attributes. I will say, after telling people I got the game, kind of circling back to our first topic, I've never had so many people ask me about genital size in my entire life.
Why is that?
Because one of the big kind of draws of this game is the in-depth character customization. That's what we'll call it. It's actually really not that in-depth, but they do include genitals. And I will say it doesn't matter. It's absolutely a sales gimmick. I don't know what I was expecting in terms of that part of the sales pitch. I don't know how they were going to incorporate it into the actual gameplay, but they did. I'm sorry?
I feel like it's got to show up somewhere in the game.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet. So I don't know. I don't think it does. I think it was just a kind of a neat way to say, you can create just about anything on your character, except his voice. The voice is the same no matter what.
Do you think that they did this obviously we've seen plenty of quote unquote marketing marketing ploys have been used to sell certain things throughout all pop culture. Obviously, the internet and Instagram's big. Maybe some game developer said, well, we know how shallow and weird people can be. Why don't we just decide the size of your genitals? Because we know that so many people are going to make a lot of jokes and memes about it. Do you think at all was a marketing ploy to get more people into the game?
I think it's probably most of it, realistically. Although, I will say, after doing a little bit of research into the company that released it, they buy a lot of these tabletop properties, and they work with these tabletop properties. So I think they do they actually liked the game. It wasn't like, how do we sell this game? I know, but we'll use memes about genitals. I think a lot of it was informed by what Cyberpunk as a genre is. Cyberpunk is all about complete customization.
Yeah.
You can change anything on your body. Anything can be enhanced. Anything can be augmented. That's the genre, not just the video game, the genre of cyberpunk, cyberpunk movies, cyberpunk books. That's what it's about. It's about the augmentation of humankind. So I think they're, just for the character creation, wanted to show that you could augment everything on your character. And I really do think that that's all it was. It wasn't intended to be the meme king that it turned out to be. Rocky showed me one tying Cyberpunk to Homelander from The Boys, which was pretty funny. But outside of the character customization, because I did play further than that, I think the game is great. I think the story is interesting. I've had fun playing it, and I've played it two different ways. I've not finished the game. I played it about halfway through the way I was playing it, and I decided I wanted to try something totally different. So instead of, screwing around with my current character and all of the stats and attributes and traits that I had already assigned through, playing as far as I'd played it, I went back to the beginning. Good.
If you don't mind me interject, like, what is the purpose of the game? Is it, like, is there two modes? Obviously, like a GTA has, you could roam around, you could do your online mode, but is this what's the actual
No.
story of it or the point?
Yeah, so we talked about this last time, and I was like, this is not going to be like a Madden, a Modern Warfare, or a GTA that, people can just pick it up and start playing the game. And I was right, and I think that the marketing campaign, having been so successful, is exactly why it's been getting such mixed reviews online. Because I think people who wanted to play Madden are playing Cyberpunk, and they're not happy about it. When a Madden game comes out, it's just a game that you've played a trillion times with brand new graphics, a new skin. It runs like a dream. And this is not that. Yeah, this is not that.
It's kind of like, did you ever play or hear about No Man's Sky before it came out?
I have
played it.
I've never played it, but I've heard of it.
When that game was announced, people were saying how amazing it was going to be, and it had this huge marketing team behind it, and the pre-orders were insane. And then it came out, and it was like, a shell of what it was supposed to be. And the exact same thing happened. People turned on it really quickly. The reviews got really bad. And then they were refunded their copies of the game. And the studio was like torn apart online. And then, but, you play it 2-3 years later, and they've done update after update after update, and it's actually now the game that they promised, back in 2015 or whatever. So I feel like Cyberpunk is going to do the exact same thing.
I'm gonna stop you there a little bit. That reminds me of like Anthem.
Anthem hasn't changed though.
No, it hasn't, because they're still working on it. Hopefully, because that was a really cool concept.
Sky is a totally different game.
I don't think that people who are playing Cyberpunk or people who originally played No Man's Sky, both games I really like, by the way, and have played, I don't think people realized what they were getting. I really do think it was just a problem of the marketing team expanded beyond the scope of what the game was supposed to be able to handle.
Everyone's expectations were way too high.
Correct. My favorite games are the Fallout series, and I mean, Outer Worlds was really good. I liked that. I played the Elder Scrolls games as well, both Skyrim and Oblivion. So I play this type of game a lot, and you can infer what that means about me. But so when I had to pick up Cyberpunk and there was weird glitches because you walked into a massive city for the first time, of course one of the cars is going to start doing donuts in, the middle of the street. It's got to look how big, all the other games of this kind, you're in a desert, right? You're in a wasteland. You're in a forest. There's not a lot of ways you could screw up a tree, but to make an entire functioning city,
the city's the best part about the whole game.
Absolutely. You could just walk around the city. But to answer your question, Matt, you can just walk around if you wanted to.
And there are legit
to do if you do that. You really do kind of have to be doing things with a purpose. You kind of have to be questing, so to speak. You have to either be doing side jobs to make money, or you have to be advancing the story to its conclusion. They do have like a police system. It's a little buggy.
It's a little buggy.
And they do have like a random encounter system. So while you're walking down the street, you could kind of come up to, a gang fight or something like that, and you can, jump into that.
Hey.
But you don't. Yeah, but it's not like you can't just drive around and start jumping off buildings and stuff like in GTA, and you can't just start capping people on the sidewalk. The game punishes you for doing that. It's too hard. It's too difficult to, it's not like a 4 stars thing where you could shoot a civilian, and you shouldn't do that anyway. I hate people who play the game like that, but some people do.
Yeah,
and then run away as fast as you can, and then just keep trying to amp, up the ante. You really do kind of have to have a purpose, I think, if you want the game to be fun. And I don't know if everybody's doing that. I don't know. I'd have to actually hear someone's real complaints, because surprisingly, people are not articulate on the internet. Yes, I know. I was shocked after 10 episodes. But people just yell and scream and complain. But it really does sound like expectations were just nowhere near where the reality of this game is supposed to be.
Not even for Keanu Reeves to save it.
I mean,
so far he's been funny. The acting's been great.
Yeah. I mean, I bought this game like a year ago at least. I bought the Cyberpunk Xbox. I was all ready for it. My expectations were up. I've put in about 60 hours, and I've found it's actually pretty good. I've enjoyed
not put in 60 yet, but I'm probably close.
I've been marathoning it pretty bad.
But I will say this: they did release the game late. right? They pushed it back.
They pushed it back.
So people were already mad.
Do you think it
they
makes
also-
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but I'm
You're
just
good.
do you think it makes a difference based on your experience if you're playing it on the previous gen console than the next gen? Because I heard like
100%.
at least just like the graphics are different, but I'm just curious for who have actually played it.
I've played it on both.
Okay.
I've not played it on both.
I played it on the Xbox One S and then the Xbox Series X, and it is very different. The older Xboxes and the PS4, I've heard, are game-breaking bugs that have just gotten worse.
bad.
Yeah, but hasn't
I
happened.
know you haven't experienced it.
And I mean, I don't even have the S, dude. I have the
Yeah, you have the OG.
2016 version of the Xbox One. Like,
I think it's like 2013.
yeah, no, it wasn't 2013. I got it in like 2015. But it was definitely that version, the one that came out, like originally. So I have an original Xbox One, and I'm playing the game. When I first got it, every once in a while, I would show up in a large part of the city, and it would crash. Which, by the way, Modern Warfare, you can ask Rocky, crashes on one of the two of us every time we play, at least twice.
Me too, though.
In the beginning, yeah. And so they patched it like almost immediately with an update, and I haven't had it happen since.
They should update.
I do want to try it on the bigger console, or the newer console rather. I'm just waiting till they're available because right now they're only available from people who are way upcharging. But once it's available, I'll get it and I'll try it on that one for sure. And I'm sure it's going to look a lot better, but I haven't seen anything game breaking. Like I said, there's some weird little bugs, but
my car got stuck sideways yesterday.
That's what happened?
My car got stuck lengthwise in the road. It was like half in the road.
But you're on the current console.
I am on the current console, yeah. I haven't played it on PC, but
the Delamain Cab in Pacifica. I was live. I was giving you live commentary. I was trying to handle that nonsense. That glitched a lot.
Real problems with it.
That glitched a lot. In addition to my own problems with it, that did glitch a lot. My car just stopped several times when it wasn't supposed to. There was people spawning in my way. There's a lot going on there. But again, it's a big game. Big games have that happen. So my review, my not yet finished review, I should say, because I have to beat the game, is the story and the acting have been great. The city is phenomenal, even on the old generations. I have not seen anything game breaking. If your game did break, I'm going to blame you. I'm going to say it's your fault because mine didn't. And more importantly, if your game does crash, you'll do what you do with Call of Duty or Madden or any of your other AAA games. You'll turn it off. You'll be upset. You'll turn it back on, and then you'll play. It's the exact same thing. Just save. Learn how to save. Be good at the game, and then you won't have to worry about it. That's my thoughts.
And we're back, guys. We have Rocky. We have Ryan. We're talking big stories for the third to last week of the year. So let's get into some. We talked video games. We talked, taboo stuff. But let's change it up to something else. So there is a much highly anticipated movie come out. Honestly, it's crazy over the last few weeks how bigger and bigger this movie has added its anticipations. We've talked about it briefly, Ryan. I'm excited to talk about this with Rocky. So, Spider-Man. There will be a Far From Home sequel, the Tom Holland Spider-Man saga. It'll be
Farther From Home.
Yeah. Far From Home sequel.
It's a joke. You're fine.
Sorry, you confused me with that, but we're good. But anyways, so this is a working title, Spider-Man 3, but again, in the third series, I guess you would say, of the Spider-Man cinematic universe. The interesting thing about this one that happens to, at this moment, is scheduled to be released exactly 1 year from today, December 17th, 2021. And the big twist on what this third Spider-Man movie is going to be about, it's the fact that the cast has been insanely growing. And what's been interesting about this cast growing is the fact they're bringing a lot of classic characters who were in previous Spider-Man series, the Andrew Garfield one and the Tobey Maguire, and they're all slated to make some kind of return. From Tobey Maguire has agreed to come back as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield has agreed to come back. We have Alfred Molina, who played Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2. He's slated to come back. We have Jamie Foxx as Electro, who was in Spider-Man 2, the Andrew Garfield version. So I guess
A
that's
good part of that entire series.
Yeah, so I think it's the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is slated to come
Yes.
back. And we have the original Flash Thomas, who was in the first Spider-Man, to come back. But we also have...
Oh, thank God they got rid of the other guy.
We have Kristen Stewart. No, sorry, not Kristen Stewart. Kristen Dunst coming back as Mary Jane, who's allegedly coming back. And we are going to also have Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch come back. Oh, wait. Someone that is coming back that is specifically excited, Ryan, is original Norman Osborn in the original Spider-Man series. Willem Dafoe, not William Dafoe. Willem Dafoe.
Say it with your chest, Matt.
It's Willem, really?
Willem, yeah.
Yeah, no, it actually is his name. So
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe is coming back as Dr. Octopus. And of course,
no, not Dr. Octopus. That's the Green Goblin.
Yes.
The greenest of the Green Goblins. Listen, all due respect to future Governor McConaughey, but I'm glad they managed to figure out how to get the Green Goblin back, because he is that movie. That first movie, I mean, yeah, Tobey Maguire is great, as we found out when we tried it 2 more times, and he's still the best. But the first movie wasn't, I mean, it was the Green Goblin that made the entire movie. He was the best villain.
Genuinely great villain.
He set the bar, by the way.
Oh,
it's why Topher Grace looked kind of bad, because he wasn't up to their level. Doc Ock did fine. And so did what's his name? Wow, the most famous person in the movie. James Franco. And so did Sandman. Yeah. They all did fine.
No, James Franco's
set
coming
that
back
standard
at this moment.
Is he?
He's not. But we have also in this.
Maybe Dave will do it.
That'd be interesting.
We also have. Don't forget, in the original series, Zendaya's MJ's coming back. Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds is coming back. He apparently lost 120 pounds for the role. And we also have
Wait, he had to lose weight for the role of the fat friend?
I guess so.
Wait. Oh. Right. Oh, that guy.
Yeah. And then we have Marissa Tomei as May Parker come back. So, seriously, we're Spider-Maning the Spider-Man out of this movie. Just got so much Spider-Man, so much movie. And we talked about Ryan's excitement specifically for Norman Osborn to come back.
Yes.
Rocky, what do you think of this massive cast?
I mean, I haven't seen Spider-Man 2, the new Spider-Man 2.
The new Spider-Man 2.
I have no idea. This
Two-Man.
The newest Spider-Man 2. I have no idea. Set that up in the last movie. But I mean,
with Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio.
I did see Spider-Verse, and it would make a lot of it can be done well. I mean, they should get Jake Johnson to play Spider-Man too. He was the washed up.
I will say I agree. We do need Miles Morales to be in the film. We also need Spider-Pig to somehow appear in the film. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a Saturday morning cartoon, that would be funny.
Nicholas Cage, Noir Spider-Man.
You can't do all of them, because at that point you have 170 Spider-Man. And I think that's the plural. Spider-Man?
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Spider-Man? I don't know. But
there hasn't been really, with going this, there really hasn't been any script. Not that I personally know. There could be, but I don't know. No really script leaks, no plots, no synopsis have been released. They're just announcing this massive Avengers Endgame style cast. It just, obviously the big joke is that famous meme of the 3 Spider-Mans pointing at each other, which they're obviously going to have a scene and screenshot of that for years to come.
I mean, that's worth however much the movie costs.
You really
that one scene.
In all seriousness, do you think this movie's gonna be good? Do you think they could pull this off? I mean, the screenwriter, it's gonna be directed by John Watts, who did direct the first 2 Spider-Mans, and he's also, fun fact, he directed the Onion News Network. But anyways, he's coming back to direct.
Oh boy!
And then the people writing it is Chris McKinnon and Eric Somers. Chris McKinnon was an American Dad. Was an American Dad writer, and also he wrote in Community, and the Mindy Project. And Eric Somers is also, he wrote the Lego Batman series, helped contribute to that. Jumanji. These are the writers from the first 2 picks as well. But
Okay.
so I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, how do you fit so much, essentially so much movie into a movie and so much content with that?
I don't think they will. I think that they're gonna have like a one original Spider-Man bit and then move on. I think they're trying to overhype it.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know.
I would
think-
love for
I
it to
wonder-
be more. I'd love for it to, have them all team up or whatever, but I feel like it's just gonna like pop in, pop out kind of thing.
So here's the thing with that. I mean, granted this is Sony, but it's also Marvel,
Yeah.
and we're Avengers are done forever. We're not going to have any big movies like that ever again. All of the original cast is gone. As much as we all liked how it ended, I liked how it ended. I don't actually want to see Anthony Mackie and I don't even know who else is in this. Whoever plays
Who
Scarlet
survived.
Witch.
Scarlet
Yeah.
Witch.
I don't want to see those two lead the Avengers into the next chapter. They are on Disney Plus. I think that's awesome. I think that's where they are. They made this first movie franchise huge, and now they're going to spawn it off into a bunch of other properties, as they should. But in the meantime, while they're trying to figure out how they're going to build another massive franchise, they have one. And they saw it work with the Spider-Verse, and that's exactly why this is happening. And I think they're going to take this opportunity. I think we might even see 2 movies out of this. I know that has not the plan right now, but I also definitely think Sony wants this to work because, frankly, then Sony can just grab an old Spider-Man and go ahead and release it, make it canon. We know that they exist now, and they don't have to worry about taking Tom Holland away from the MCU and getting the entire world to yell at them again, because that's what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then they don't have to worry about it. Tom Holland could just make all of their other movies because he has a contract with them, and they can just grab a different Spider-Man. It doesn't. I think that they're going to use this legitimately. I think that they want this to be the money-making center for both studios until they can build a new Avengers-style series. And Spider-Man's the only hero any of them have that can do that. It really is. I mean, X-Men have been done. You're not going to do it better. And that Fantastic Four? I don't know.
They're supposed to be
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think these guys are involved. Who is involved with this are involved to saving Fantastic Four. But the film has actually been filming. The film is in production at this moment. They started filming in October in the city.
You saw the picture of all the Spider-Men.
Yeah, exactly. So
different ones with the different designs. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was confirmed that is an official reel, and the film is.
They will be together at some point.
Yeah, the film is supposed to be here until March 2021. But I'm actually going to say, I'm going to go with the Rocky prediction that they're only going to be used as cameo specifically. Who knows what that brings about, and we'll just have to see. But I think it's going to be more in a cameo setting. I would prefer Ryan's idea, but I just think, how much money you have to pay?
Wasted opportunity. If they don't do it, it's wasted opportunity. Talk about a fumble.
It's going to be a lot of money to pay all those people.
You don't have to do it once.
Yeah, but they got Marvel money. They don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, you do it once, and then you can spin it off forever. I mean, I don't want to see anyone else. Excuse me. I even said it. I don't want to see anyone else be the Green Goblin. I don't.
Do you think this will be a Sinister Six type of situation for all those who know? The Sinister Six was a Avengers of bad guys against Spider-Man. It seemed.
I think
even though these aren't,
it would be perfect.
Yeah.
They were the villains in the PS4 game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But think about it. You literally get. I mean, you have to pay. I understand that, but you can take all of the best Spider-Man villains, and I don't just mean like the best characters. I mean, you get the best version of those characters. You know what I mean? You can't say, "Oh, we're going to do Sinister Six, so we need Vulture, we need Green Goblin, we need Dr. Octopus." You already have someone who played it perfectly. All 3 of those. Bring Michael Keaton back, right? You already have Willem Dafoe. You can just literally take the best villains and use them. And then, you know what? We have 2 Venoms. One of them was good. One of them not as good. Sorry, Topher Grace. Just see what Tom Hardy's doing. Like, you can literally just pick and choose your favorite version. Could you imagine if they could have made every Batman movie with Heath Ledger as Joker going forward? Be like, well, I don't know if this movie's gonna be good, but Heath Ledger will be good. Like, think about Suicide Squad. That movie sucked. Sorry for anyone who liked that movie. Suicide Squad was horrible. And the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, was bad. Just it was actively bad. He's a great actor and performer. That was actively bad.
It really wasn't that
Could you
bad.
imagine if you made that movie with Heath Ledger? If you just pick him up and be like, all right, Heath will do it. It's a different movie. It's a better movie.
With that look, though, the Heath Ledger Nolan look into that.
No, you keep the look.
It wouldn't work with Suicide Squad.
Yes, it would, because literally I would pay to see Heath Ledger just be the Joker on the street somewhere. Maybe not on the street. That's dangerous. I'd assume he was there to hurt me. But on a stage, absolutely. It doesn't. There's no reason to like rewrite the wheel. If you're going to just go back to the well of nostalgia anyway, which is what this is, then do it right. Take the best version of these people. And so, yeah, I don't think we're going to get 3 Spider-Men for the next however many years every time they do a Spider-Man movie. Obviously, they're going to keep it to one hero. But I think this is a way to cross the villains. And I think that that's the best idea that they've ever had. Because Spider-Man, we're getting really into this topic, and that's okay. I was watching a show today called The Toys That Made Us. It's a spinoff of the shows that made us.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
So, yeah. And so I watched the Power Rangers episode.
Mhm.
And did you know that the Power Rangers originated because
Japan.
Spider-Man went to Japan?
Really? Is that the truth? Like they?
Yes,
I think it
the
was
Japanese
just-
Spider-Man had like a giant robot, right? And he was like a Power Ranger, and he did the transform thing. It was a whole thing. You should watch the episode; it's good. But the point is, like, the point of that show was that you just take Spider-Man, and then you cycle through the villain, and then the villain gets big, and you get the robot. You don't do that part, but Sony and Marvel should literally just for the next however many years do that, because you can't reinvent Spider-Man. You can't reboot him every time he gets stale. So don't let
It's
him
kind
get
of funny,
stale.
actually.
Like let him. If he'll never get stale if every time we're like, I wonder what's going to happen next. He has a massive foil. You know what I mean? Like to me, it just makes perfect sense. Since you can't have an all-star team of heroes anymore, that's gone. Have an all-star team of villains that Spider-Man beats up, because everybody loves Spider-Man, so he's totally allowed to beat them up. We don't care, and there's still a reason to see these movies.
Mhm.
Whereas, I mean, like I said, I don't want to see Far From Home. I almost saw it because I was like, well, they'll probably show me what's going to happen in like the next 4 Marvel movies, so I should probably see it. That's the only reason I watched it. I was not excited for Far From Home. It was just kind of
Right.
the next movie, and they don't have any big milestones coming up to keep us invested like that. Like, we can watch Thor because we want to see the Avengers, even though Thor is boring. The original.
Right.
We don't have an Avengers to keep us occupied. You know what I mean? So they can't make a boring movie and be like, trust me, you want to watch the boring movie and give us all that money, because when the cool movie comes out, you'll feel like a real dummy. They don't have a cool movie anymore. They just have these setup movies. So they need to do something in the meantime, and this feels like it. This feels like what it has to be to me.
Well, it's some time to be a Spider-Man fan, and well, we'll see if anything leaks, and be on the lookout for that. And
Tom
why
Holland
not
will leak it.
exactly a year from now? Order your tickets, please. If we don't have movie theater, hopefully, assuming that God forbid, if the pandemic is still as we're in this place in December of 2021,
It'll be streaming on Quibi Plus. So,
I mean,
Too soon. You took that thing too soon.
oh man,
R.I.P. Quibi.
please, I want to go to opening night to that, because that would
You were young.
Opening night
Yeah.
is in your pocket.
literally, man. So the next thing, I'm gonna actually toss it to Rocky. Rocky, you told us during the break that you have one interesting story that I personally was intrigued, and I'm sure Ryan felt the same.
I did.
And please, Rocky, tell us what that story is.
So it's a little nugget of knowledge that I heard when we were talking about the console thing
Yep.
and the Cyberpunk thing, and that actually in the UK Parliament, not in the US, but who knows, they actually are talking about they're calling for a law against scalping for any next gen console or computer part, because like the same thing happened with the new GTX graphics cards that came out. They were bought up all immediately, and then sold at a much higher price. But they're all bought by bots, and bots were buying up everything. They did the same thing with consoles. It took me hours to get my consoles. I was
Yeah.
get them, but it was the worst ever. It was horrible. So the UK is fighting back, and they're trying to outlaw bots buying things off these websites, specifically for consumer electronics. So
I like that. It's turned into
scalpers made millions off of the consoles.
I continue to envision, sort of like what we talked about at the top of the show. I envision Mitt Romney trying to come up with a fair plan for buying an Xbox. And would he be interested in taking up that kind of work?
It's
and
turned into a
the answer is no. I just don't see America ever getting that deeply involved in consumer habits. I think they should be at least, vaguely involved. But, I mean, we have it runs deep in America, for better or for worse. And sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. No one can tell us what to do. So if somebody wants to set up a bot to buy 400 Xbox Ones or Xbox Series X's, God bless the US of A. I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how the UK does it and, like, what comes of it and what are the long-term, like, changes to consumer products and consumer buying that come from that. But I just don't see how we here would even remotely approach bringing that to, because I'm thinking of who would be interested in that sort of thing.
We couldn't really do it with the government. It would have to be through each individual company. Like if they wanted to do like an anti-bot thing on their website or something like that, it had to be done like, that way. I don't think you could say no bots from the government, but I think a company could say no bots and go that way. So Microsoft has there's that little thing, you just press the button and it says I'm not a robot.
I have to imagine people who make robots have a way to make that like obsolete.
I honestly don't know.
I have to believe that in my heart of hearts.
In Microsoft, if anyone could figure out a bot on a website, it would be Microsoft.
True, but I'm like, could you imagine if the thing thwarting, your master plan to make millions of dollars was not being able to train a computer to identify a sidewalk? I just don't think that that's going to be what happens. I think that
these companies don't care because in the end of the day, they're selling out of all their products. So.
Exactly, which is another thing. If they do this, maybe it turns out the sales weren't as big as they thought they were. Right now, they're selling out, but that's because people are buying 100 of them. If everyone only buys one, are they going to sell as much? You would think so because of the demand, but who knows?
Who knows exactly?
Yeah, I guess it's just it's been interesting to see how people have been trying to get this. I've seen so many videos on my Instagram of people waiting in rooms through Sony only to tell them we're sold out for the day. I heard this on the radio, and I don't know if this is true, and reckon this was literally about 2 weeks ago, that the CEO, when we're talking specifically about the PlayStation 5, the Sony CEO announced that they're not going to create any more, physically build the hardware for the PlayStation 5 until after at least the new year or once some of the more COVID cases go down. Reckon I heard that from a soundbite at a radio show, and I haven't actually looked it up myself, but it seems to make sense now over there too. And it's just crazy.
I've heard similar things.
Yeah, well, what are that?
I've heard similar things about plants being shut down because of COVID. So production slowed. Like on Switches, I'm pretty sure the production for Switches is slowed. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sony did the same thing.
Interesting. I mean, what a battle it's been. Obviously, of the
Bill
millions.
Gates made the cure, so they don't have to stop.
No, he wanted. No, he made the microchip.
He made the tracking chip for the cure. So
I saw that meme. So you don't want a microchip in with that famous guy at the.
Microchip, Microsoft. It's right there in the name, people.
It is
unbelievable, but
it's unbelievable.
Once you get your Xbox Series X, once you get your PlayStation 5, Series S, excuse me. Once you get the Xbox Series S, once you get your PlayStation 5, you have to give it a big hug because it was a battle to get that device.
I'm not gonna hug an inanimate object. Okay.
I've hugged mine multiple times. They're also, in my opinion, they're garbage consoles. They aren't nice, and they have no games.
Looking or functioning.
Like hot trash, and it is like twice the size of the Xbox.
Which one looks like hot trash?
PS5. I absolutely hate it.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
it looks like the monolith that we were talking about, man, with those aliens.
I like the look. It like feels futuristic. Like whenever
It
the
is
day is
also so much bigger than the other two. I think I
cold.
sent Ryan. I like if you put them all side by side, like I've done. It's just
Well, that's why I like the S. It's smaller
Bing.
than the one I have, so I
the
can
S
just put it on
is
top.
insanely small.
Hey,
I don't think people realize how small it is. But in the end, I don't know if you can see. There it is compared to
that is huge.
That's the three of them, yeah.
that's the three of them. There's a disc in the middle for scale.
The
So
Xbox X is actually kind of cool looking. I will give it that.
just
Like it's box. It's back
like
to
a
the
box.
really
It's a
boxy
box.
format.
It's a box and has an X button on it.
Pretty much.
Gotta stay loyal. Gotta stay loyal. So first, let's transition from Disney. The first thing to
to
mention.
To
Yep.
Disney.
The first transfer to Disney. The first thing to mention is, sadly, Disney lost a very important figure to one of its very important franchises. Jeremy Bulloch passed away, who is known as the original Boba Fett in the original Star Wars trilogy. And obviously, someone who's badass, somebody who is mysterious, man of very few words, if none, if any, but also very iconic specifically for the original trilogy. So, sadly, we lost the original Boba Fett, Jeremy Bulloch, but also had a great acting career himself, starring in things such as Doctor Who and Robin of Sherwood. So
I didn't know he was in Doctor Who, huh?
He's
yes.
also an officer in episode 5 that like manhandles Leia and on Bespin when she's saying like, Luke, it's a trap, and the officer that grabs her is him.
Just without the helmet on.
Yeah, just in an Imperial officer uniform.
playing
Huh.
a double
Dual role, man of many talents. And
Right.
meanwhile, Disney looks at it and says 100, 200, 300. You guys are going to make me rich.
I mean,
So-
I paid $20 to see him.
How many?
20.
Oh,
He's
that's not bad.
$20.
So you actually met him. Where did you meet him, Rocky?
In Orlando. So I have been to 3 Star Wars conventions,
Mhm.
and I've met the entire original trilogy cast except for Harrison Ford. I was able to meet Carrie Fisher before she died. I was able to meet Chewbacca 3 times before he died. I was able to meet the guy that does the sound for R2D2. Plus,
Really?
I've met Tamora Morrison, the guy that's on The Mandalorian. I've met him before. I met him actually a couple years ago. So yeah,
No
I've
way.
been to a bunch of Star Wars conventions. That's what I like.
I wonder why Harrison Ford didn't go.
You really, Matt? You're wondering why Harrison Ford
I
didn't go?
don't want to. If we're gonna say the elephant, if we say the elephant in the room, he thinks he's. I don't know. Is the elephant in the room that he thinks he was too good for the Star Wars trilogy? With no offense, he is because he's a Hollywood legend and other things.
I think he thinks he's too rich for the Star Wars trilogy, which is also
No.
completely accurate.
He actually
He doesn't need $20 for people to see him.
he had to go to a Star Wars celebration when he
was
signed up
forced
for
to.
episode 7. He was like, it was in his contract. So he actually, I think he got flown in on a helicopter on the roof, walked down to the main stage, waved, did a little Q&A, and then took his helicopter and left again.
They had to legally bind him to seeing people, which is
Yeah.
hysterical. I wish I had
He
that
really
kind of
doesn't like
pull
Star
over
Wars.
other people to make it so you have to legally write it into a contract that I'm required to
But-
speak to other people.
If you ever watch him, like there's YouTube videos of him just getting mobbed randomly on the street and him having to like yell and like try to get away. So it's understandable
yeah.
why he hates Star Wars fans. Like I don't blame him.
He's such a legendary actor for other great roles, from Blade
Yeah.
Runner to Indiana Jones, Witness, Air Force One, The Fugitive. I mean, what a great Apocalypse Now. The
He
conversation.
and my buddy Bradley Whitford, not my real buddy, are in that new movie Call of the Wild. So there you go.
You are the biggest Bradley Whitford fan in the world.
That's not true. But
Oh, you know, no, you didn't. You guys have
and on the show, by the way, ironically enough, on the show, there's an entire website dedicated to his character, the Lemon Limons. So anyway, not the point. We're
Well,
getting
I will
off
stand
topic.
corrected on that one. And if that's the case here, there's a spam caller trying to get me, not answering.
Oh, I
them
had one
as I
literally
was
2 minutes ago.
I did too.
That's freaking weird.
I've had
They
like
were-
10 today.
Yeah,
They're pinging
seriously.
off the Zoom.
They've been really bad lately.
Yo, I get nervous because like I'm interviewing for a job right now. I was like, what if this is the one and I hang up and close on them?
My thing is, if they're important, they'll leave a message.
Yeah, that's exactly how I
It's
feel
like-
too.
it's
Or
like-
they'll email me saying, "Hey, we
Yeah,
missed your
exactly.
call." So
Not in my contract.
Like,
Job.
if they're not going to give you a job just because you didn't answer the phone once, and would you really want to work there? I'm like, come on.
The answer, of course, is yes, probably because they're probably a big employer. Those are the kind of people who can be petty like that.
I could tell you
I
some
wouldn't-
people
I
I
wouldn't
think are like that way. But anyways, guys. So Disney Investors Day was last week. A huge thing in Hollywood and beyond. Disney announced lots of projects over the next few years, from adding on to franchises to completely new and original ideas. I mean, Star Wars and Marvel alone are expected to have as much as 10 Marvel series, 10 Star Wars series, and 15 live action animation and Pixar series will all be released exclusively on Disney Plus. Some of these big announcements on all platforms for Disney, from what Disney owns. Hulu announced they're going to do what we talked about with HBO Max. They're going to put exclusive movies from the theaters to Hulu Plus, specifically the Searchlight Department, the Searchlight Department, which is an indie production studio, and also 20th Centuries, not 20th Century Fox, 20th Century Pictures are going to add a bunch of big Hulu ideas. We're going to have, as I mentioned, adding on to series. There's an Indiana Jones 5 for some reason going to be released in
You didn't even need to have a
2022.
fourth one.
Harrison needs a new
Literally.
helicopter to
You're
escape
gonna
the
kill him
Star
off.
Wars
I think
fans.
he literally just do it. He said yes just so he can like kill off the character. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's why he did
And
episode
then I
7.
hand him the bowcaster. Or they didn't give him the
Actually, no.
bowcaster.
There's a Mandela effect with Indiana Jones 4. Do you
Which
remember
one's
that movie at all?
Of
No.
course, Shia LaBeouf.
You remember at the end of the
Oh.
movie, Shia LaBeouf, when spoiler alert for the worst Indiana Jones movie,
Yep.
he gets married to Marion, and Shia LaBeouf picks up in the Indiana Jones hat.
Woo! But it was
Or
crazy.
Indy takes it away. The Mandela effect is that he says "Not on your life, kid," and puts on the hat. But in the actual movie, he doesn't say anything. He just grabs the hat back.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
to think
maybe
about.
a surprise.
Yeah, so people were trying to find.
I forgot the whole movie existed.
from
So
opening weekend.
that's
People were
the
trying to
third
find
option.
to like figure out if it was like in a release and then edit it out for some reason. But
Mhm.
I don't know. So that's just one quirky thing about that movie.
Huh.
It's
Yeah.
just, I guess they really didn't know Disney Plus was going to be a thing 12 years later, because at least for now, there's no announcement regarding it, any Shia LaBeouf involvement. But James Mangold, who's an amazing director, from Logan to Ford vs. Ferrari, now he's going to be at the helm of this Indiana Jones 5. So it might well have some artistic value to it. And he's a legit director. I mean, I find him as very action-packed director. There's also some nice character development thrown in
You
there.
think they'll bring back aliens?
Well, that's funny you say that, because I'm just looking at there's an Alien series in the works from the
No.
Fargo TV director. No, I'm
I
really
was like, are they
serious.
going to bring back aliens to Indiana Jones?
Oh, excuse me. I thought you meant the Aliens franchise with
No,
like
no.
Sigourney Weaver. Oh, that's funny. But do I think aliens? Well, what else are we gonna do?
It was a bold move to add him in 4, so why not double down?
From that, he's beaten Nazis before.
It's
and
them or
all that.
Nazis.
Why don't
There
I
is
don't-
no in between.
No, there isn't.
the Galactic Empire? I guess is making.
Oh
an
my God, you're
appearance.
absolutely right.
Well, Patton
That's what
Oswalt
they're gonna
already
do.
wrote that.
Did
It's
he
gonna
really?
be filmed. It's be
Well-
filmed in Israel.
The filibuster episode of Parks and Rec, the crossover between Star Wars and Marvel, just have to do a crossover between Star Wars and Indiana Jones. There actually was a Star
Why
Wars
not?
comic back in the day where Han Solo did meet Indiana Jones.
Huh.
That would be awesome.
It was,
I believe
yeah,
it.
And then there was a third one.
bunch of weird Star Wars things. But anyway, sorry.
Well, if you are interested too, there is for the Alien series, the Aliens.
That's a good
Prometheus.
series.
Awesome series. They are planning to do a original series again for Disney Plus, directed by the Fargo TV director Noah Hawley, and it will
Good show.
have Ridley Scott's involvement. And all it says, it will be set in the not distant future of Earth, which is a legitimate press release. So if you
In Night City,
I was
2077.
just thinking that.
Another
I
thing,
want to say it.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia gets renewed for 4 more seasons on FX.
Oh,
Disney
wow.
Plus?
FX, which is owned by
Oh.
Disney. So
Didn't
Hulu.
see that coming.
4 more years. You guys like it enough for that?
I've
No.
seen every episode maybe 10 times. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, okay. Then this is awesome.
I'm glad to see. Like the last season was surprisingly good. Like I think they've been pretty constant. I think it's a good show,
Mhm.
and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, excellent writing, great pop culture references, and it's
yeah.
awesome. Dude, another one. So this is related for the ESPN and ESPN type. So we have seen Michael Jordan get his big documentary series about him. We've seen The Undertaker. Now, who's next up for that in 2021?
Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf. I don't know who that is.
Sorry, it's a joke. Tennis player.
Man in the Arena, a 9-part docuseries built around Tom Brady's firsthand account of the journey to each of his 9 Super Bowls will be released. That is something else.
Could not care any less. Physically could not care any less.
Hey, man.
Did you hear about Tom Brady? His boat?
What do you do now?
Defrauding the federal government?
Well, I know I didn't hear. What happened?
He applied for those PPP loans during the COVID
Mm-hmm.
for like a company that was like mostly nonsense. Then he bought a boat.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady. Why do we always give him the Tom Brady, you rascal pass? What is wrong with us as people?
He just gets away with it. That's all I could tell
He does, because you can throw a good spiral.
you. Yes.
Eli Manning could throw an okay spiral. Why don't we owe Eli Manning? Let's see his series.
Well,
Or the
Pat
Steffi
McAfee.
Graf one I just pitched. ESPN call me.
So we also have Lightyear. But a
That one
movie
looks
about
cool.
the
That
original.
looks ridiculous.
This seems to be genuinely the most exciting announcement. Is the fact that they're going to do an origin series on Buzz Lightyear.
They literally already did that. Like
They
there's a
did.
Yeah,
That
there's
show
a
has
TV
already
show.
existed. But
you can't touch a TV show. It was amazing, and
Yeah.
this is just gonna ruin it, no matter what. It could be the best movie of all time, and it's still gonna ruin the TV show.
well,
Do you guys
think
know
about
who's
it.
going
What if
to?
Tim Allen was in it? He's not. But what if he was? Now it's the
What?
best. What if Tim Allen was in it? Now it's the best.
Oh, I know. Tim Allen is the only Buzz Lightyear.
That's actually really good. Do you know who's voicing Buzz Lightyear?
Yeah, Captain America.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans is going to voice the hero for some reason.
You talk
I
about
love
internet
it.
safety.
We also have just a few more things before we wrap it up with regarding
Yep.
these announcements. Obviously, Star Wars again. We are expanding as many TV series we can have. Ashoka. We have the
Ahsoka.
Yeah, how dare you.
excuse me. I'm sorry if any pronunciations. I like Star Wars. I've seen the original 9 movies, but again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce things.
There are 9, Rocky. Keep
They're going
yourself in
six
check. Including
And
my favorite movie, The Last Jedi.
what? And we have
Jordan.
Andor, which is the big Rosario Dawson revival character. But probably the most interesting that I'm generally interested for is 2 things. I guess they're both related, but I really like the idea of an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I guess it's not really origin, but yeah, it is origin.
It's after episode 3 what they're gonna do.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna see Ewan McGregor back in his famous Obi-Wan Kenobi gear, and he's my favorite part of the series. Fun fact: I saw his big breakthrough on Trade Spotting, which was awesome. And then I'm now going to see him in a highly anticipated show. And also with this news of the Obi-Wan Kenobi reboot, or I should say spinoff, we have Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader.
To acting.
We all
Yeah.
so
Well, he did like the pizza delivery movie.
he did a really good in this one movie. I can't think of the name, but it's about a plagiarist and a plagiarist journalist. It's really good, actually. Anyways, how do we feel about the return of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen in their
Well,
respective roles.
I like it.
They announced Ewan McGregor was doing a TV show, an Obi-Wan TV show, like years ago.
Yeah.
And
Then they let it go.
at least, and then what happened was the script fell apart, the writers left, and they had to like completely redo the whole thing. So I'm not, too excited. I think they're gonna somehow botch it, but just to see Hayden
so,
Christensen
too.
and Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor back on the screen together, I'll
So-
watch it.
What'll be interesting, and hopefully they've learned something from The Mandalorian, which is very good, very successful. I just watched. I'm all caught up now as of today on The Mandalorian. Is that they could really do a lot of interesting things in actually showing the transition. The Mandalorian is doing more for the 3 movies that just came out than any of those 3 movies have done for themselves, in terms of trying to make sense of the situation that we find ourselves in when we start those movies. So I think it could do a lot to really explain, see the changes from where we remember Obi-Wan, especially because it's Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. So that's the one we remember. To see the changes from that point, so where ultimately he finds Luke.
And turns into
my only request is that they don't spend the whole time on Tatooine. I get it's easy to shoot because you just need sand, but I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. So
flashbacks. I think that's what they said. That's how they're going to get Hayden Christensen, and I think it's going to be a lot of flashbacks.
that'd be cool.
Well, makes sense for that.
It'd be weird because he looks older than he did, but whatever.
Eh.
Whatever.
It's amazing what technology we could do.
He could look exactly.
They made De Niro look young.
I think it's easier, with all due respect to De Niro, I think it's easier to that type of technology with, not as older skin.
You think it'll work a little better with someone who isn't actively way too old to be starring in a mob movie?
Did you see they did that for Civil War with Robert Downey Jr.? They pulled it off with that one scene.
I thought it looked good, honestly.
Yeah.
It did on that one, yeah.
I was surprised.
So maybe that'll work for Hayden Christensen, I think just with all due respect to Pacino, De Niro, Pesci, that they were it's hard to cover up.
Especially Joe Pesci.
Like if you ever done Photoshop and you you need some serious skills to change those around and
you're right.
any layers. So I think it's just the technology. I'm sure one day they can make the technology even better, but that's still extremely advanced. Oh man, what a day. What a day. Can I just play one last thing?
Sure, yeah, we'll do one more story and then we'll end this.
Cool. Let me play this.
Because they believe in us and what we're doing.
You hear it?
Yeah, I know what we're doing.
Insurance companies.
So
The power of God and anime.
it was reported and clearly proven that on the set of the new Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise is yelling at the crew for breaking COVID-19 protocols, which for some reason has had a polarizing response. Some people thought he was too much. Some people were screaming. And some people were saying he's obviously doing the right thing. And I think if you hear the entire audio, which isn't long, I think it's only few minutes, he calms down his tone and he explains, guys, you have a responsibility to each other and we have to follow the rules, which honestly, if anyone's been yelled at by a boss, usually it's the screaming phase and then, the quiet down phase. And
yep.
So, but guys, first of all, why are we talking? I mean, we're obviously talking about this because it's a crazy reaction, but why such a polarizing response when he was speaking the truth? Obviously, there's all different ways you could communicate on something like that, but with something as serious as COVID-19, I think he was kind of fair to do what he did, How do you guys feel?
I think we have to say, without a doubt, first and foremost, no, it's all right. If a Scientologist is telling you that you need to start believing in the facts, you were wrong, and you've been wrong for quite some time, and you need to go home, draw yourself a nice warm bath, sit in it, right, and just really think, good, long, and hard. Tom Cruise was telling you to believe in the science. Tom Cruise was telling you that your belief system is wrong. And worse off, he was right. So he was right. He shouldn't have yelled because I get it. He's Tom Cruise. He makes so much money, and the people who are working for Tom Cruise on this movie don't make Tom Cruise's money. But also, Tom Cruise, in addition to probably not wanting to get sick himself, also made a very good point at the end. No one ever listens to the end, so we can't expect people to have done that. But he calmed down and he said, "We have a duty to each other, to keep each other safe. But they also have a duty, they're getting an opportunity that other people are not getting. We talked about it last week. They're filming this movie right now. There are little pizza shops, hobby stores, little bodegas, and other grocery stores that can't stay open, that are gone, and they'll probably be gone forever. And for some reason, we've decided that Mission Impossible gets to keep going. I'm not going to, determine whether or not that is or
Mission
isn't
Impossible
correct.
7.
Right. Yeah, we needed a 7th one. We decided that. Hell or high water. We're getting 7 of these movies. And so, for whatever reason we did that, I'm not going to get into whether or not we needed 7 or we needed to film this one. But we've decided to. And to then flaunt the rules and break the rules when other people were not even given the opportunity to follow the rules because they were deemed as either A, just too high risk, or B, they didn't have the money to do it safely. This movie can do it safely. These people can do it safely. And frankly, they're lucky to be working at all. So for them to not follow the rules when people in there, especially in California, have lost everything because of COVID-19, it's disrespectful. And it's insane that Tom Cruise had to point that out to people, as I mentioned before, because, it's Tom Cruise. He's, famously a little bit out there. All people seem to like him, but he's just
Tom Cruise a
wacky.
lot.
Yeah, I like him too. His movies I like, but he's a little wacky. We've seen him be
Fair
wacky
enough.
on TV and stuff. And even he was
hooked
like,
up on
guys,
it.
we got to, you know what I mean? He pulled them back to reality. Tom Cruise did that. And so it to me feels like, I don't know how I get why you're mad because it's a millionaire yelling at regular people. And that's never a good look. I'm always against millionaires yelling at people. But in this particular case, these people are, in a way, they've received some privilege. They're privileged to be working when so many people in their own city have lost literally everything. And they should be treating that with much more respect. And it sounds like, from what Tom was saying, that they weren't. Now, if the cameraman was like, dude, we did that. Everything he said we didn't do, we were doing. Somebody sneezed and he lost his mind. Like, all right, that's different. And I would totally believe that story if it came out, by the way. That just goes with the territory of, wacky Tom. But no one said it yet. And I feel like if that were the case, then people would have said that already. So, assuming it's all true, I just don't see how anyone could be upset with that reaction, personally.
Is he their boss, technically? That's what I was going to ask. Like, I don't know how movie sets work.
Well,
Can you, do that?
as a producer, you can. Let me just see if he has a producing credit.
And he's probably producer on these.
Because
it'd be a lot worse if he, literally was just the actor yelling at coworkers, essentially.
Well,
Yeah,
that has happened.
okay,
Christian Bale, if you know that.
Well, yeah, but we yelled at him. But
Well, we yelled at him.
Tom Brady.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Brady is not.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say he does have a producer credit, so he is a producer on the role too. So which makes him a boss.
He, is their boss? That makes more.
Yeah,
that,
he's
that
one of
makes
the
it
bosses.
better.
But also, again, in a locker room, go back to Tom Brady. He can do anything. If he yells at his teammates in the halftime of the Super Bowl, tell him to act right. No one's like, "Excuse you, Tom. Who made you team captain?" Tom Cruise is Mission Impossible. Period. End of story. If Tom Cruise walked away from that set tomorrow, all of them are out of a job. The movie's not getting made. So, you can debate the merits of this, but he's the team captain. Him and the director. The director didn't hire every single person who works there. He doesn't know all their names, or she doesn't know all their names. And then the lead actor and lead actress, again, they don't know everybody. But you need all 3 of those people in order to make the movie. So, to me, it makes perfect sense that Tom Cruise would feel that it was his responsibility as the star of that movie to say that this movie is going to represent myself and everyone who worked on it in a positive way. And that means we're going to follow the rules as they're written so we can continue to film and continue to be safe. I don't see anything wrong with that. Otherwise, again, anytime somebody spoke, You could be like, you're not my real dad. Like, some people are, I don't want to say more important, but some people hold a position of leverage or power just based off of their past accomplishments, being well respected, or frankly, their current role. People who
Right.
are people who just, they have that. He has that ability, not because he's hired everyone himself or he's paying everyone himself, but because he's the star of this movie. And that means he gets to say things to other people, because without him, there is no movie. So I don't know. Like, I get it. You're right. And I think that kind of goes with the millionaires yelling at regular people thing. He's not their boss. He has tons of money, and these people are just trying to work. But they're trying to work wrong. And there's a right way to work right now. And if they're not doing it, someone needs to call them out.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is just a result of so many. We did the right thing, but a lot of people are continue to be stressed. We have a while until the spread.
What are they
lessens,
stressed
so-
about? They're working on a gajillion-dollar movie.
No. I'm saying as a result of more people yelling at each other about wearing masks and stuff, like that argument.
Yeah, but maybe that's why the internet's so upset. But I'm
Right.
talking about
Like, that's
the
what I'm
people
saying.
there. Why
Like,
weren't
no,
they wearing
you're right.
a mask?
You're right. They should wear their masks. I work in that industry, Ryan. I would love to be on set right now. And then if I have somebody, being an ass and not following the rules, it annoys someone like me, especially.
Right, because
Worked
you'd
at a
wear
PA.
4 masks to be in that movie.
Yeah, man. Where was the COVID PA compliance officer, which is a thing now? Seriously.
Again, it shouldn't have had to happen. Tom
Yeah,
Cruise
you're right.
shouldn't
Like
have had
that.
to yell.
That's the point. And more COVID yelling and for stuff reasons. And I think he did the right thing. Don't be so sensitive. And again, another reason why we all can't wait for this pandemic to end, so we don't hear stories
Yes.
about A-list actors screaming at crews, even if it is for the right thing.
Or just A-list actors singing on Twitter.
Oh, that is probably the number one thing I will not miss. One of them. My goodness.
Gail Gadot.
I actually looked that up the other day. I went up down her page. First of all, see it's still up, and see the various.
It's still up?
comments
She
there.
didn't remove it?
Yes.
Wow.
I commend her.
They interviewed her about it too, and she was like, "I tried to do something nice, but I guess people just didn't get what I was trying to go for." So it wasn't our fault. It was her. It wasn't her fault. It was our fault.
It was the fault of the unwashed masses.
Like you said, Ryan, this has not been a great year for celebrities.
We're not all in the same boat. We're just in a similar storm, and we all have something that floats. So,
And
yes, not
What
a great year
great
for
words
celebrities,
are-
but in this one case, I am Team Tom.
That's the
E.T.
lifestyle of the rich and the famous.
I don't have a Tom Cruise quote for this. I know I've quoted several Star Wars quotes throughout the segment. but I
say,
don't have any.
you could say something like, "Help me help you. Wear your mask and I'll help you. You wear your mask, you help me."
No, I got one. Ready? At the end of the day, these people should just shut up and put their masks on. So when the movie comes out, they can say, "Show me the money." There you are.
That's a good one. I was hoping for that or his I forgot his character in Tropic Thunder's name. Less something.
Oh God, yeah, that movie. We're not going to talk about that movie ever again. That was your one free pass.
I love Tropic Thunder. I really do. I
Yikes.
think it's a good movie.
All right.
Anyways, obviously some of the stuff didn't age well, but besides that,
But anyway, I think we got to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Rocky, for coming and talking to us a little bit, bringing some unique perspectives on the way the law works when it comes to taking down large internet companies, and that's what we'll call them for now. And just for kind of chatting with us. You were very engaged, which
yes,
we kind
I
of figured
enjoyed
when you have a super fan on the show. So hopefully we can get a few more.
Yeah, long time first time, guys. Long time first time.
it.
Time first time, exactly.
Hopefully we have you again, Rocky.
I've already pitched to Ryan my role with this.
Well, off
All
camera,
right, I
buddy.
didn't
Now
hear
you're
this.
now you're trying to encroach. Well, off camera, buddy.
I'm open.
But anyway, as always, thank you for listening to the TweetCap. You can find us on pretty much all podcasting platforms, as well as our new YouTube channel. So we've got all of our current episodes on YouTube. We're still working through the backlog, but it'll happen. Matt, why don't you go and tell them where they can find you if they want to pitch you a story or maybe a new role for the podcast.
You can go reach out to me personally at MattBrown300 on Instagram, MattBrown31 on Twitter.
And I'm RPP95 or at RPP95 on Twitter. So thank you all for listening, and have a great night.
So long. Thanks again, Rocky.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.